I'm Cassie, the founder of She Leads, and we provide measurable leadership skill development for girls. I started She Leads in 2017 and currently work with a passionate team of University of Waterloo students and alumni, working on female leadership problems after running all-girl hackathons in elementary schools. I had no trouble coding, but they lack the leadership skill understanding to own their projects. Schools are not struggling with curriculum, but are falling behind in leadership development. In response, education centers are spending time and money on solutions like speakers, workshops, and trips, but these models are costly and difficult to scale, relying on facilitators and venues. They're constrained to a specific amount of time, and with no framework, they are inconsistent and institution specific. We put our identified problem into the business model canvas. We reached out to core partnerships for support: Greenhouse, the social impact incubator on campus, and Velocity, the startup resource. Literature highlighted the significance of childhood years for leadership development, so we chose girls 6 to 16 as our end users and elementary schools and community centers as customer segments. Google Chromebooks are being implemented in schools Canada-wide, so we thought our vehicle should be a Google Chrome extension. With educational leadership games, girls would get micro-leadership info to develop their skills. Key resources was an online environment, phone and email to get in touch with customers, and a high-touch relationship. Costs included product development and salaries, and our hypothesized revenue stream was a subscription basis. We tested our riskiest hypothesis first: value proposition, customer segments, and key activities. We created a mock-up of our extension to explain our value. This cost us $0 and 30 minutes. We interviewed 5 elementary school educators and 2 community center managers to test our value proposition and extension. We spoke to 3 psychology professors and 1 professor at the Games Institute to test our hypothesis that we could teach leadership skills online. We learned that schools had a high barrier to entry, with permission required from principals and funds shared school-wide. We validated community centers as an initial testing place, with lower barriers to entry and pre-organized all-girl groups. We asked the 2 groups about our extension hypothesis. Educators wanted more control over use. Pop-up activities made it difficult to collect information and track individual responses, resulting in an inconsistent learning experience. With the Games Institute, we realized our extension had graphics, rewards, and questions that could be put into a story-based game, giving educators additional autonomy. Girls would direct characters through the game, making leadership decisions that affect outcomes. In these choices, we would assess content understanding. We worked with 2 community centers to test our new game idea and altered our value proposition. We worked with the YWCA Kitchener and Cambridge to test our hypothesis that we could assess leadership skill understanding through games. Our minimal viable product to test included game writing assessment and a simple interactive game. It was in pitching our game idea that we reached our second major pivot. The centers liked our idea but wanted the girls to not just play, but contribute to game creation. We discussed coding, but STEAM programs exist and we are not looking to replace them. We discussed design, but it would lack a learning component. The fit ended up being in writing. Content creation is a key activity. We could let girls write the leadership stories using a set framework and increase content creation and responses we have to evaluate understanding. We had 3 weeks before the start of the pilots to test our value delivery through gameplay and writing. During this time, we participated in a think tankathon where a group of community leaders, 3 educators, 3 parents, 2 university students, a data scientist, and the director of a peace incubator gave us feedback on our assessment process. This took us $0 and 4 hours. We decided on a rubric that would assess the soft skills evaluated in primary school report cards across a 5-level scale. The skills are responsibility, organization, independent work, collaboration, initiative, and self-regulation. Next, we work with 2 community centers to test our hypothesis that we could assess leadership skill understanding through games. Our minimal viable product to test included game writing assessment and a simple interactive game. We worked with the YWCA and girls ages 6 to 15. We reached 20 girls with 7 stories. This cost us $130 over the course of 5 weeks, and we received a letter of recommendation. The costs were for name tags, chart paper, media release forms, and perks to recreate the game, including certificates and stickers for the girls. Before our pilot, 0% of girls could identify a female leader, and 0% of girls could define self-regulation. After the pilot, 80% of girls self-identified as leader, and 100% could give examples of applying self-regulation. Our top learnings were that girls 10 to 16 excelled in the writing process, but girls 6 to 10 struggled with attentiveness during the writing process, and although full of meaningful responses, some of them had trouble writing, and they were significantly more engaged in playing over the writing process. Our new value proposition was in accessibility. With varying literacy levels that are easily managed in person, a digitized version would need a submission type to manage these differences. We validated the activity of content and game creation, the resources of an online environment, and added 2 concepts to our value proposition. With our new value in assessment, we went back to elementary school educators to explore our solution. Through our outreach, we discovered a large educator community on Twitter and added social media to our channels. We spoke to 10 educators in 1-hour interviews, 5 high school teachers in 1-hour interviews, and surveyed 25 grade 7 students orally. This cost us $0 and took us 4 weeks. We asked them about value proposition to see if they were ideal customers. Soft skill evaluation was not important to high school teachers, with the advanced courses taking precedent. For elementary school teachers, the learning skills were important to parents and educators, highlighted as the most important part of the report card. Educators averaged 30 minutes for learning skill evaluation per student per term. Evaluation methods were teacher-specific with no cross-class standard. We asked students about their internet use and found that daily, 92% played video games, 60% used Instagram, 95% watched YouTube, 100% watch Netflix, and 0% read physical books. Our key learnings were that students like to absorb digital content frequently, and that educators put an intense amount of importance on learning skills. Through 12 weeks and $130, we validated our activities of evaluation, assessment, and analysis. We identified our online environment as key resources, our value in assessment, accessibility, control, and consistency. We also identified that customer relationships were high touch with phone, email, and social media channels. Our customer segments were identified as elementary classes and community centers, with end users segmented from ages 6 to 10 and 10 to 16. Currently, we are exploring a revenue stream with elementary classes and community centers to see if the money comes from those customers or if there's an additional customer segment or key partner to work with. Thank you for listening. I'm Cassie, the founder of She Leads, and we provide measurable leadership skill development for girls by girls.